very contentious question is, what about the body? It's a very important aspect of matter, where, like a scientist, does science through the body. So, what is the basis of the body? Now, the discussion of evolution is a big discussion, and I'm not going to get into that at the moment. But just from a description of the nature of the body, again we can see that it's reasonable to think that universal consciousness is actually the basis of the body. For example, bodies are like machines. Machines are made of artificial materials which wouldn't occur naturally. They have to be created. They've got artificial forms, very complex forms, and they perform functions which wouldn't otherwise take place. You don't make a machine for falling off logs, because that's simple. You make machines for flying up into the sky, which isn't simple. Bodies are the same thing. First of all, the composition of bodies, it's energetically unstable. That's why you get heat when you burn a log. Because the body is giving, the wood is giving off energy. So in general, all the compounds in the human body, they're high energy compounds, and they decompose when you die, immediately. But the body holds together very nicely as long as we're alive. Laws of matter, laws of life. The Hungarian Nobel laureate, Szent-Györgyi, he said, life is a revolt against the statistical laws of physics. Death means that the revolt subsided and the statistical laws resumed their sway. Why should a chunk of matter, even if a chunk of matter comes together, why would it stand upright? That in itself is extremely improbable. And if the chunk of matter gets a bullet through its head, then it falls down again, which means death, this revolt against the laws of physics has subsided. And again, the body has taken up its natural position, which is as flat as it can be. Then the complexity. Richard Dawkins himself, he's written, biology is the study of complicated things that give the appearance of having been designed for a purpose. Now, Professor Richard Dawkins would be the last person, possibly the last person in the world to think that, well, actually they were designed for a purpose. But he certainly says that they look as though they were designed for a purpose. Why? Because they're extremely complex. He himself admits that they're extremely complex. He thinks he's got a solution to that. But actually, information theory tells us that complex systems can only appear from complex laws. If you have extremely complex systems, like living systems, and especially human beings, not only the body is complex, but the things that we surround ourselves with are very complex. Those can only be produced by very complex laws. Whereas crystals, raindrops, cliffs, and other naturally occurring entities, systems, they don't have so much complexity. And the laws that describe them are relatively simple. You can describe them in, say, 6 pages of computer code. Whereas to describe the whole gamut of life, it would take so much. So they're very complex, which means that according to information theory, it's not possible that such complex entities as the body could appear just from the physical laws of nature, because the physical laws of nature can't produce systems which are more complex than themselves. The improbability of that is more than astronomical. It's inconceivable. And then again, physical bodies perform functions which physical systems can't. For example, this physical body can see, and it's designed for seeing. The eye is designed, or the eye is adapted or whatever, but it sees. It has a feature of seeing, it has a feature of hearing, and it's got a brain for thinking and processing information. Now, how can one ever produce a physical theory that explains the appearance of things which produce non-physical sensations like perception, or carry out non-physical processes like processing information? So all in all, on the one hand, even materialists admit that bodies look as though they've been designed for a purpose. On the other hand, it's not possible, in principle, to come up with a physical theory of how they could have appeared from physical laws. So, how did they appear? It's a miracle. What forms miracles? Consciousness. So it's perfectly reasonable to go back to the age-old understanding that bodies, physical bodies, they're maintained, created, maintained by some universal consciousness. So in other words, the Vedic viewpoint that universal self, universal coordinating self, is the source and basis of the individual consciousness. It's the basis of conscious community and relationship, and it's also the basis of matter itself, including the special case of our bodies. This is the Vedic viewpoint, and it's completely logical. It's more logical, more consistent than the materialistic viewpoint that everything's just come from material interactions.